Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Start of a brand new month of pens in use. The pens I'm going to be using during October of 2023. The theme this month? Well, they're Chinese pens. I'm calling it Chinese mainland, so they come from the bulk of China. I'm excluding places like Taiwan from this list. So join me now down on the mat. Let's take a look at the 6 pens I'll be starting this month with. Here we are down on the table. So pens in use October 2023, Chinese pens. What I've tried to do with this selection is to pick some pens that I don't normally use. You know, some of them I use occasionally, but most of the pens that I've picked I haven't used for at least 3, if not 6 months or longer. So the first pen we're going to have is the Jinho X159. This is a gorgeous dark blue colour. It's a chunky pen. It's a beast of a pen. Taking that cap off, just look how well that fits in the hand. They're very, very wide. I love the width of this pen. It's a nice length as well. It's got that number 8 size Jinhao nib there. It's a fine nib. This is one of the things I'm not too keen on fine nibs. Let's see how we go. This might be a nib. I fancy playing with some nibs to try and grind them. This might be something I may try, not this month, but in future months. Let me know, is that something you'd like to see? This is a cartridge converter pen. There we go. Got a reasonable fill in there. Such a nice fit in the hand. The pen will post. Doesn't feel too bad when it's posted. Feels long to me because I usually use my pens unposted, but doesn't feel too heavy. The whole pen itself is plastic. It's a fairly lightweight pen. So we've got here a Jinhao X159. It's got that fine nib. The nib's not too bad for a fine nib. It seems to be quite generous. Cost-wise, this was 12 Aussie dollars. The ink in here is by Lamy. It's part of the Crystal series. And it's Azurite. To me, this seems fairly dark, bluey purpley colour. Get some character there, some shading coming through. Drying times, so here's immediate. Here's 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Nearly dry there. 1 minute. After a minute there, that's nice and dry. So this looks like it's going to be quite a good combo for note taking. You know, fast enough to dry, reasonable line, nice colour to it, nice size to the pen, nice width to the pen, which I think will make for a comfortable writing experience. Pen number 2. This is going from that wide pen to a fairly thin one. This is the Picasso PMEO. Virtually all black. The clip's black, the trim's black. Then we get bang, this pop of gorgeous red, which really fetches the pen to your eye. Very thin looking pen. Quite a matte colour there to that black. It pulls off and that leaves us with a very thin section. You can see here, thin section. This is one of the things I need to explore, is how I get on with this section with it being so thin. The nib, staying with that pattern of black. So it's a small, would you say number 5 size nib maybe? That's black as well. Inside, we've got there the cartridge converter. The converter there is only about half full of ink at the moment, so this may run out, in which case I'm not sure yet. I may refill this. I'll just see how I'm going with it. Put it back together. Lengthwise, just about right, just about nice. It's the thinness which is really what puts it off. Being thin as well, although it's metal, does make it feel fairly light. The cap will posts quite nicely. Again, because I don't normally use a pen posted, it feels odd, but I may actually try writing with this posted and see if I get used to it, because posted just seems to give it that little bit extra weight and that little bit extra length and takes away a little bit from the thinness. So we've got here a Picasso Pimio. I think it's a 916, but all I've got down on my notes is Pimio. The nib, oops, I'm saying fine. Again, in my notes it says medium. I don't think it's a medium nib. I think it's fine, maybe even extra fine. I don't think maybe extra fine, but definitely it's more of a fine nib. Price-wise, I paid 15 Aussie dollars for this. The ink is by Oster. And it's Rubine. What I tend to use with this pen, as you can see, is I use red inks because of this hint of red here. I used to use Robert Oster Fire Engine red, but it was only a sample I had, so that eventually ran out. I'm quite liking this Rubine in here. See a bit of shading coming through, so there is some character in the ink. Drying times, so here goes immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Still smudging ever so slightly. 1 minute. Then after a minute, we expected that. That's nice and dry. So again, another combo where it could be quite good for note taking because of the drying times. I just need to explore this thinness because I think I may find that I find I get like little cramps here when the pen's too thin. So that's something to explore during the month. But that's a Picasso PMEO with Robert Oster Rubine. Just going to move the page up ever so slightly. Pen number 3 for the month. This is from Kaigelu. This is the Kaigelu 316A. So this is an updated version, obviously, of the 316. I love the fact we've got this material, this colour going all the way through the pen. So not just here in the body, not just in the cap, but also on the finials. I like the gold. I think that offsets this green really well. If we take the cap off, the material extends into the section. Looks very nice. Then on here, we've got a medium nib. There we go. Hopefully you can see that nicely there. Got there the kangaroo, the Kaigelu kangaroo. Cartridge converter, slightly different shape converter than what I see with all the other pens this month, which is quite interesting. Put it back together. There we go. Nice length. I love the length of this. Again, I'm being extremely picky, a little bit on the thin side. I'd like it if that section would have been ever so slightly wider, but that's just me being picky. The nib, I've already pointed it out, but this is a number 6 nib, so you can swap it. I just like the way this nib looks. I think it's really pretty with a kangaroo there. So we got here a Kaigelu 316A with a medium nib. I love the nib on this, as I've already said about the looks of it, but we get a very nice, generous line. To me, that's heading towards like a broad line. Cost-wise, so we're taking a jump in price now. We're up to 35 Aussie dollars. The ink, quite a long name for the ink, is by Kobe, and it's number 60. Foreign Museum Mint. Quite a lengthy name there. I like the colour though. I like this ink. Again, I'm seeing a lot of character coming through. I'm seeing a lot of shading coming through in this. Not overly wet. We'll see that when we do our drying times in a minute. But yeah, very nice. I think it's a good match for this pen. I like it when my pen and my ink match. Drying times. So we go immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Nearly dry there. Belt and braces, 1 minute. After a minute there, that's nice and dry. I do like this combo. I think it's really nice. And this is one, again, it's a pen. I like the size, I like the shape. It's a pen I often reach for. The only thing, as I said, I just wish it was a little bit wider in the section. So this is the Kaigelu 316A with Kobe number 60 Foreign Museum Mint. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. So halfway through, we'll move the page up. There we've got the bottom 3 grids there left on. Pen number 4 by PenBBS. Have you noticed I've used a different manufacturer for each pen? That's been deliberate. I want to explore quite a lot of makers in this month. This is the PenBBS 487. This is a pen I love and I don't love. I know, it sounds a bit of a contradiction. So the pattern is called Azurite, so it's mainly transparent, but then we've got these hints of blues and whites. Up till I put this ink in, I normally only used a blue ink in here, and it was usually at Coverse Supernova. I've also had Diamine Oxford Blue in here, but as you can see, I've done something different this time. I've gone for red, really pushing I'm really pushing myself here, going for a red ink in a mainly blue pen. One of the issues I've got with this here, I don't know if you can see, there was a screw-in seal cap that just came unscrewed by itself and I lost it. So what I've done is there's a little bit of glue in there to try and keep that seal. What makes this pen different is here. This is a magnetic fill-in pen. Just see if I can get it actually into camera so you can see. See this disc here? Here's the cap. On the cap there, we've got a little bit of a magnet that attaches. The whole idea to fill this pen is you then drag the cap down, which drags down this fitting, then drag it back up to suck the ink in. Doesn't work, never worked for me. I managed to get that to move once, but that was after poking it a lot. After that, it has refused to move. So I just actually used it as a seal for the whole pen, and I eyedropper fill it. So to fill it, I unscrew the section here and fill with a blunt nose syringe. The pen, beautiful size, love the size, love the length. The section, just about right. Again, if I'm going to be very picky, I'd have liked it a little bit teeny weeny wider, but I'm being extremely picky. I love the way it looks. I love seeing the ink sloshing around. The PenBBS nib, actually not too bad for a PenBBS nib. One of the things I do find with PenBBS, they're very limited in their choice of nib sizes. I think that's changing now. I have thought about changing this nib, but to be honest, the nib on here writes very nicely, so I've left it. So this is a PenBBS, and it's the 487. It says it's a fine nib. To me, it's a very generous fine, heading towards medium. Price-wise, it was 54 Aussie dollars. The ink in here is by Pilot, and it's iroshizuku Momiji. It's actually one of the first bottles of ink that I bought. I thought it was going to be redder than it was. When you see things on the computer screen, when you're ordering online, the colours don't exactly look like they are when you receive them. So I thought this was going to be redder, but it's got more of a pink or magenta tone to it. Drying times, so we got immediate. As you see, compared to the rest, fairly wet looking. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Well, we're dry there at 30 seconds. There's no real point doing the 1 minute test. So, nice fast drying combo. I actually quite like the pen. I'm looking forward to using this for note taking. This is one pen though this month. When this runs out, I'm not planning to refill it. This barrel just takes so much ink that I generally find I can get between 6 and 9 months between fills with this pen. So this is the PenBBS 487 and Pilot iroshizuku Momiji. My next pen is one of the first Chinese pens I bought, and it's the Moonman or the Majohn M800. This is in the amber colour. Beautiful colour in here. The body, not sure if you can see it on the camera, slightly transparent, so you can actually see there inside the converter, and you can see the nib coming through here. Very nice pen. 4 colours available. I've got all 4. I love this pen. It's one of my favourite pens. And I say that about every pen I use, but this one is one of my favourites. The nib on here, this is a bot nib. When you buy these pens, you've got a choice of 2 nibs. You can either get a Moonman fine nib, or you can get a bot fine nib. If you go for the bot, you pay an extra $10, or that's what it cost me extra. So I've got 2 with a bot nib, and I've got 2 with a Moonman nib. Although saying that, they're number 6 nibs. So a couple of the Moonman nibs have already been swapped out. As I said, we've got a cartridge converter in here. There we go. Nice capacity in that converter. I should really measure the ink capacities. I'll have to see if I can get a syringe with the numbers on it so I can actually measure ink capacities. That's something to think about for another video. I love the section on here. I love the way it's shaped. Very nice. My fingers just glide into the right position. The pen feels nice. It feels elegant. It feels the right size. Now, some of you may be shouting saying, Gary, it's just a clone of a Leonardo Momento Zero. Yep, I know that. Well, I'm not going to say clone. Heavily inspired by might be the best way of putting it. And to be honest, it's the reason I bought it, because I loved the look of the Leonardo Momento Zeros, but they were a lot of money. Whereas this was a fraction of the cost. I say for all 4 that I've got of this, it still cost me less than it did to get 1 Momento Zero. It's a nice pen though. I say I really enjoy writing with this. So we've got here, I'm going to call it Majohn because that's what it's called now. So it's a Majohn M800 and it's the Bock fine nib. Price wise, this was 66 Aussie dollars. That did include the cost for that Bock nib. So if it was for a Majohn nib, it would have been cheaper. The ink is by Diamine and it's Ochre. This is my first Diamine ink of the month, which is unusual because normally I've got loads of Diamine inks. Very nice dark brown. A little bit too dark, I think, for this amber colour, but it's nice enough. Get loads of shading coming through in this. Ochre's a really nice ink. I need to really play around with this. I've got a stub nib which I could put it in. I think it would look really nice in a stub nib. Again, that's an idea for a future. Drying times. So here's immediate. Just look at that colour when we're doing the swipe. 10 seconds. Doesn't seem to be drying very quick. 30 seconds. 1 minute. Well, that's still smudging a lot. Line above, 2 minutes. Even 2 minutes was still smudging ever so slightly. So as a combo, very long drying time. And that may affect what I use it for. You know, if I'm going to be using it for taking notes, where I want to be able to turn the page quite frequently, if I have to wait like 2 minutes before I can turn the page, really going to disrupt my note taking. So yeah, I need to think about this one. So this is the Majohn M800 with Diamine Ochre. My final pen, let's just move this up ever so slightly. There we go. Straighten it up a bit. My final pen. This one's by Wingsung. This is the Wingsung 698. Piston filling pen. Very dark material, very hard to see what's going on in there. But the piston mechanism comes down to about here, so half the body is lost in the piston mechanism. The one thing I have to remember with this pen, and I'm terrible for doing it, I normally just try to twist this, and I get very concerned because it seems stiff. To actually work the mechanism, you need to lift this up slightly. That frees it, and then the mechanism will work. So that's something, every time I pick this pen up now, I say to myself, lift it, lift it, lift it. Otherwise, I'll end up doing what I've done before, and then I'm actually twisting and taking out the whole mechanism. This pen is different than all the others in that this has got a 14 karat gold nib. So there's 2 versions of this pen, obviously in different colours, but you can get either the 14 karat gold or you can get the steel nib. The steel nib is about $30-ish. I can't remember exactly. it's less than half the price. The gold nib, you pay more for that gold nib. The pen, nice lengthwise, section very thin to me. Again, feels a bit too thin. I know I keep saying this over and over. I like a little bit of width, a little bit of girth there in the sections, just to make it so that my fingers aren't squashed up against each other. Feels very nice. It sort of posts, but it doesn't post very securely. But it will sit on there if you really wanted it, but wobbles around. Interesting pen though, because this nib really makes for, to me, I've got to be honest, a bit of a strange experience. The nib, very, very sensitive. I've tried reseating it on the feed here a number of different times, cannot get it to change. So this is a Wingsung. I have to put very little pressure on this. 698. And it's got a fine 14 karat gold. Carat. AU. There we go. And the price for this, 74 Aussie dollars. I say I'm being very, very light. I find slightest bit of pressure, it starts to railroad. Very sensitive nib. The ink is by Diamine. And it's, get this right, Monboddos hat. I do struggle with the name of this ink. I'm forever getting the B's and the D's mixed up. So that's why I keep referring to my notes every time I use this. Very dark purple ink, looks nearly black, but it's not. There's a lot of purple in it. Drying times, so here's immediate. This is where we can see all that purple. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. There, we're dry at 30 seconds already. Now, I'm just going to write here, because I'm not going to refill this. Once this is empty, I'm going to clean it out. But this is with how I would normally write. And it's not doing it today. But you can see, it is flexing quite a bit. We're getting a fair bit of line variation, so no pressure. And there we start to railroad, and there's some pressure. So it's an interesting nib, and it's one I need to play around with this month. Going to be interesting to see how this goes with note taking. I think, get the right paper, I think this could be really exceptional. But that's the Wingsung 698 with Diamine Monboddos hat. I'm just going to swap on over, and I'll fetch in all the pens for one final look. So the pens that I'm going to be starting off, October of 2023. Jinho X159. Picasso PMEO, Kaigelu 316A, the PenBBS 487, the Majohn M800, and the Wingsung 698. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on the pens I'm starting this month with? What pens are you using this month? How are you picking the pens you use? Please drop a comment down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.